I'm going to remove the wheel, use a 22mm socket, take the lug nuts off. And take the wheel off. Now we're going to take this caliper off, take these two caliper bolts out, use a 14mm socket. And if the pin starts spinning, you can use a wrench on that pin or a pair of pliers. And you can just pry the caliper out a little bit, use a straight blade screwdriver. Take a brake caliper hanger, and then you can hang it from the coil spring. Make sure there's no tension on the brake hose. Now take the brake pads off. You can use a straight blade screwdriver or a pry bar. Just pry these out. Now take this caliper bracket off. Use an 18mm socket. Take these two bolts out. And grab the bracket and slide it off. Now we're going to take this screw out, use a T30 socket. Now you can take the rotor off. If it's stuck on, you can take a hammer and just hit in these locations. Just make sure you don't hit the studs. You can use a screwdriver and just try to work it back and forth. And slide the rotor off. Now we're going to clean up the hub. You can use a grinder or a wire brush. Just be careful with a grinder, you just want to scratch the surface. Get some of the rust off. Take some anti-seize and just give it a nice thin coat. Take the rotor, just put it on backwards first. Take some brake parts cleaner, wash down the back side of the rotor, and wipe it down with a rag. Flip it around. If you have to adjust the parking brakes, there's an adjustment right here. You can turn it one way or another to tighten or loosen it. And line this up. Make sure you line this hole up with the threads where you're going to put that screw. And you want the brakes a little, not quite dragging, just enough. That should be good for this vehicle. And then clean this side down. Brake parts cleaner and wipe it down. And put the screw in. And just snug it up, not too tight. They're snug, that's good. Now we're going to clean up the brake caliper bracket. Just take a straight blade screwdriver, take off the pad slide clips, take a wire brush, just clean off any corrosion or rust. Take some brake caliper grease, just put a nice thin coat. Take the new brake caliper pad clips, slide it in position. And put another thin coat of grease where the pads are going to slide, and then do the same on the other side. Now take the caliper slide pins out, just like that. Take some brake parts cleaner and wash it off. Wipe off all the old grease. And if this was badly corroded, you're going to want to clean out the bore of where this goes in. But this one's not too bad, so we're not going to do that. And then take some brake caliper grease and grease it up. And slide it back in. Make sure the boot seals properly. Sometimes you twist it back and forth and it seems fine. And do the same on the other side. Now take this caliper bracket and slide it over the rotor. Take the caliper bolts, put them back in, If you choose to, you can put some thread lock adhesive on them. And torque these bolts to 81 foot-pounds. And take the brake pads and slide them in position. The pad with the brake warning indicator, or sometimes they call them squealers, is going to go on the inside, and it's going to be on the down position. Now take the brake caliper off the brake hanger. Take a brake caliper compressor tool and slide it in position. Once it's in position, then slowly compress the caliper. As you're pushing this in, as you're pushing the piston in, brake fluid's going through the brake hoses, through the lines, back up into the master cylinder and into the reservoir. Do it nice and slow. Once the piston's all the way down, take the tool out. And slide the brake caliper over the brake pads. Install the brake caliper bolts. Now we can torque these bolts to 44 foot-pounds, and if you need to use a wrench, you can use a 17mm wrench to keep the pin from spinning. .44 foot-pounds. Now throw the tire back on. Put the lug nuts on. Now I'm going to torque the lug nuts to 111 foot-pounds in a cross pattern to tighten the wheel down evenly. And just go back again, double check. After you're done this repair, it's very important to pump the brake pedal multiple times, very slowly, until you have a good solid pedal, because there's going to be an air gap between the brake caliper piston and the brake pad. You got to eliminate that air gap. Then check your brake fluid level in your master cylinder reservoir and adjust accordingly.